Nous allons continuer avec notre deuxième orateur de ce soir. Il est un ancien élève de notre programme.
Let's continue our special morning with our second guest speaker. Straight from the Silicon Valley in California, he's a 2010 graduate of Dora Kennedy French Immersion program. From there, he attended Mbaye High School, where he made a name for himself as a fashion designer. He attended Howard University on a full scholarship, where he was able to make an impact on campus by serving as vice president of the School of Business and leading multiple student organizations, including the Consulting Club and a program to mentor young entrepreneurs. He is a 15 times keynote speaker and pianist, and he has experience working for some of the top investment banks and consulting firms in the world. In 2017, he and two of his peers were named the number one marketing student group in the USA because they pitched here we pitched new products to the CEOs of L'Oreal. They were then selected from 25,000 students as one of the top 40 marketing teams in the world and attended France for the international finals. Currently, he is combining his passion for marketing, media, and tech as a product marketing manager at Facebook in California, where he helps build and launch new features to hundreds of millions of people. He also has his own company where he helps startups and entrepreneurs grow their businesses through effective design and marketing. Please welcome Malik Mbaye.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Bonjour à tout le monde et félicitations. Tout d'abord, je veux remercier M. Djechab et l'administration de Dora Kennedy pour m'avoir invité. Je suis très fier d'être là avec vous parce que pour moi, c'est là où tout a commencé. Je veux aussi remercier tous mes professeurs qui ont participé à mon éducation. Monsieur Kwako, Monsieur Mills, Dr. Mills, Monsieur Ngena, Madame Mbaye et Monsieur Djechab. Je suis très heureux de partager mon expérience avec vous. Et puisqu'on a des invités qui ne parlent pas français, je ferai mon discours en anglais. Merci. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, my graduating class had like 50 people in it. But this was different. I mean, there were 900 kids in the freshman class alone. 3,000 in the whole school. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I looked around and the hallways felt so big. And although I was surrounded by people, I still felt alone. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I looked around and there was no one quite like me. They didn't talk like me. They didn't dress like me. They all went to the same schools and it felt like everybody knew everybody except for me. I still remember it like it was yesterday. All of a sudden it felt like everything around me started caving in. For some reason I felt small. I felt like I didn't fit in. Kind of like a sore thumb. I stuck out. I was uncomfortable. Deep down, I wanted to go back to the way things were. Back to Dora Kennedy, where I'd grown with everyone from kindergarten. It was school, but it kind of felt like a family. You knew all the teachers, you had your longtime friends. I mean, 9 years is a long time. And if you were like me, and you liked to talk in class a lot, the teachers knew your parents. So what did I do? I tried to fit in. I tried to dress like everyone else, and talk like everyone else, and in the beginning, it seems small, but after a while, I promise you, you won't even recognize yourself. But you know what's interesting? As I reflected more and more, I realized I wasn't the only one who struggled with this. Anytime you move into a new environment, you will feel uncomfortable. You will feel social pressure. You will feel this need to blend in with the crowd out of fear and insecurity. We all go through it. But not everyone grows through it. Some people get trapped in that cycle and never come out. You see, I realized this because as I was reflecting on those early days, I stumbled across a picture on my bookshelf of me and a good friend of mine. We went to Dora Kennedy together. Our parents took the picture right after our orchestra concert. He was one of my closest friends. I even looked up to him a little. He had swag. He could dress. He was well liked by all the parents and the teachers. I mean, he was one of the cool kids. But now, 10 years later, two people who both went to Dora Kennedy, both went to good high schools, both were reasonably good students, but for some reason, we ended up in two very different situations. One of us ended up getting a full ride to university, starting businesses, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, traveling the country for free, meeting millionaires and billionaires. And another one of us ended up on the streets, trapping, being addicted to drugs and alcohol, being involved with crime, losing friends to gun violence. And as I dug a little bit deeper and started to look around me to see where my old classmates ended up, I mean, not just from middle school, but from high school, I started to see people all along the spectrum. From people who were at Ivy League schools to people who were in jail. From people who were on their way to being doctors to people who have no dreams and no vision for the future. And so I asked myself, what was the difference? I mean, if so many things were the same, how could we end up in two vastly different places? And so I sat there in my room and I thought back to that 13-year-old kid. That 13-year-old kid who was wandering those halls, that kid who felt unsure about himself and wanted to be like everyone else. I thought, we were both that same kid. We were both trying to fit into whatever we thought was cool. But how did we end up in such different positions in life? There has to be something. So I got back up and I started pacing in my room. Back and forth. Back and forth. And then all of a sudden I looked up at my bookshelf and it hit me. The bookshelf, but not just the bookshelf, the books, but not just the books, what was inside the books. Just what was inside the books, it's what all of that symbolized. One word, education. Education was the key that made a difference in the doors that were opened in my life and the doors that weren't opened for my friend. But what does that really mean? So I thought some more. And I realized there are three types of knowledge. Knowledge of self, knowledge of the world around you, and knowledge and practice. Number one, knowledge of self. So what if I told you I had $1 million hidden in my backyard, and I even gave you my address and a shovel to get started? You'd probably dig up the entire yard, tear up the house, and then some. But what many people don't realize is that they are that gold mine. You have riches and treasures deep inside of you that you could never imagine. When I was getting bullied, when I was insecure about who I was, when I was trying to be somebody else, when I was trying to fit in, it was because I didn't have knowledge of self. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how powerful I was. I didn't know what I was capable of. And like Steve Jobs said, everything around us that we call life has been made up by people who are no smarter than you. So I don't care what anybody tells you. You are special. You are smart. You are capable. You are talented. You are loved. And you can do anything you set your mind to. But you'll never be able to if you don't get to know the power of your own mind. See, the first and most important thing you can do to educate yourself is to study yourself. Get to know your passions. Think about what makes you excited and why, and what makes you different. Don't ever change who you are to make somebody else happy. I studied myself, and I realized that I love creating stuff. I love business. I mean, I was selling popcorn in the back of the class in 3rd grade. Sorry. And in high school, I started selling Jordans, and then I started selling clothes. I started with nothing, but because I was curious, because I educated myself, I found a way to make it happen. But if I didn't know what made me happy, if I didn't know who I was, I would have never tried, and I would have never been here today. When you don't know who you are, it's easy to follow the crowd. And that's one of the worst things you can do, especially if you're following the wrong crowd. Number 2, knowledge of the world around you. Could you imagine living your whole life in a cage on purpose? You'd go crazy, you'd have nothing to live for. But you see, so many people choose to live their lives inside of a cage because they're scared of failing. They're scared of looking stupid. They're scared of disappointment. It's like when you don't raise your hand in class even though you know the answer. Just because you're scared, you might get it wrong. But the same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. I want you to raise your hand in the class of life and take a chance. You see, getting to know yourself and what makes you tick is only the first step. You have to be curious about the world around you. That's the only way you can find your place in the world. Looking back at my friend who fell into the street life, I know that sometimes when you're struggling and you're surrounded by the wrong influence, it can seem like that's your only way to make a living. And on the other hand, so many people look at the traditional career paths of being a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer as the only way. And if none of those interest them, they just give up and say, maybe school's not for me. But you want to know something they don't? We're living in a new world, the internet age where everything is possible. You're only one Google search away from anything you want to know, one Instagram DM from anyone you want to meet. You're only one step away from anything you want to accomplish. But if you don't know what's out there, you'll never know where to start looking. Think about this for a second. The cell phone that you have in your pocket is more powerful than the rocket that took Neil Armstrong to space. So what are you doing every day? Are you using your phone and the internet to broaden your horizons, to learn and to grow? Or are you using it to kill time? I think one of the reasons I was able to have so many cool opportunities so far in my life is because I wanted to try everything. In high school, I joined different clubs, from the art club to the philosophy club. I tried playing sports. I tried out new hobbies, from photography to blogging to being a sneakerhead. And in college, I found a way to travel and meet new people for free. I visited different campuses. I tried every job under the sun, even jobs I didn't think I was interested in. I went to conferences. I went to all the events. I showed up. I was exploring the world around me. Because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't get to know what's out there for you, you'll never reach your full potential. You'll only be a shadow of who you could be. Number 3, knowledge and practice. You see, once you find your passion and who you really are, and you explore what's out there in the world, there's one more thing that you have to do to really get to that next level and boss up. Think about it like building your dream house. Getting to know yourself and what makes you happy is basically like when you have the idea and you're inspired and you can see what it kind of looks like. And when you start to explore the world, it's like when you find out what neighborhood you want to live in and you start to sketch out the blueprint. But once you have the vision and the blueprint, you need to actually build the house. And to build the house, you need to have certain tools in your toolkit, not just the hammer or the nails, but you need to know about construction, architecture, interior design. And your personal development is the same way. You need to have certain tools in your toolkit. If you don't have the right tools, you'll never be able to build your dream. See, I'm no different than any of you here. I just took some time to think about what I really like doing, and I made sure I always took my learning seriously. Whether it was inside the classroom or outside the classroom, you need to be a student of the game. Whatever makes you happy, whatever seems interesting to you, make a point to learn everything about it that you possibly can. Because when you do that, you'll be unstoppable. You won't have the answers in the beginning, and trust that you can figure it out. When I started my business, I had to learn how to make a website, how to do photography, how to promote myself on Instagram and Facebook groups. I had no idea what I was doing, but because I didn't doubt myself, and I spent all day learning and trying to figure it out, I was able to stumble my way to making 6 figures by the time I got to college. When I look back at my friend who ended up on a different path, I can't help but realize that he didn't take learning as seriously inside the classroom, outside the classroom. And as a result, he didn't have the right tools to really build the house of his dreams. And when you can't build your dream house, you have to settle for whatever you can get. And I don't ever want you guys to settle, because you are limitless. I want you to reach your full potential and be all you can be. So as I sat there in my room, I thought about what I would tell that 13-year-old kid who was about to go to high school. That kid who was nervous about fitting in, that kid who was a little bit unsure of himself. What's the one thing I can tell him that will be the cheat code for the next 10 years? Never stop learning, because education is the key. I don't care how corny that sounds, it's the truth. You're going to be faced with lots of choices in these new places that you're going. You're going to have to choose new friends. You're going to have to choose what college you want to go to, or if you want to go to college at all. You're going to have to choose whether or not you want to fit in with the crowd. And the decisions that you make are going to determine where you end up in life. And the only way to make sure you end up where you want to be is to never stop learning, because education is the key. Start by learning about yourself and what you're passionate about. I mean, it won't happen overnight, and you will change your answer a couple times, but that's okay. Keep trying until you get it right. And you have to be curious. Explore what the world has to offer. Try new things. Step outside of your comfort zone. Meet new people. Ask more questions, because you'll never know what's possible until you decide to look around you and see. Travel more. Don't limit yourself. And you'll be surprised how much stuff you can get for free if you just ask. Nothing is impossible. Impossible is just the opinion of people who forgot how to dream. Everything we previously thought was impossible was made possible by someone who asked, why not? If you told people that you could make millions of dollars doing YouTube videos or streaming on Twitch, they would have told you that was impossible. But you'll never be able to do the impossible unless you never stop learning, because education is the key. And finally, build your toolkit. Set goals for yourself. Whatever you want to accomplish, you're going to have to learn some new things to make your dreams a reality. Whether it's a business, how to make computer programs, or how to go viral. I mean, I don't care if you like doing makeup. Learn everything about it and be the best. If you like fashion, learn everything about it and be the best. If you want to be a YouTuber, learn everything about it and be the best. If you like doing hair, learn everything about it and be the best. If you like making people laugh, learn everything about it and be the best. If you like being a sneakerhead, learn everything about it and be the best. If you like art, if you like arguing with people, if you like French, if you like business, if you like building stuff, learn everything about it and be the best. It's possible. You can do it. There's a lane for everybody. You each have an opportunity to create a life you can be proud of. But the only way you'll be able to create that life is if you have the tools to actually do it. And nowadays with Google, you're never more than 2 seconds away from learning anything. And it's your responsibility to educate yourself inside the classroom and outside the classroom. But you'll never be able to create a life that you can be proud of unless you never stop learning, because education is the key. Thank you, and God bless.